Alright everybody, thanks for tuning in to another Cosmology segment. We're going to make this one kind of brief, as there are a bunch of stories that we meant to cover yesterday, and additional stories that have come out today. So we're going to go through a bunch of current news articles, as well as some current nonsense. As there is plenty of that in cosmology, let's get started by talking about our mission, which is available at smAsho.com/forum/mission. The mission is to assist, study, and report on an ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics. Also to raise the awareness of the general public of the effects of space weather and Earth effects, since all your weather comes from space. To connect and consult with media organizations to multiply our reach, to demonstrate cutting-edge proof-of-concept solutions to problems, to publish scientific papers in a multidisciplinary manner. And yes, we'll be hiring people with PhDs once our nonprofit organization is fully operational. Another part of the mission is to assist mankind by advancing the study of predictive phenomenon, to optimize value and reduce risk and liability and save lives and resources and adapt no matter what the adversity is. And lastly, to not be ossified in our beliefs, and to treat those who are with love, respect, and inclusion to the scientific discussion. And since the universe isn't fundamentally electric, like stars, we don't try to profess total nonsense. And so if you're on board with our mission, please consider becoming a patron, the true source of funding for these videos. We're also on Subscribestar, and there's a PayPal link below the video as well. We'll be making a t-shirt pretty soon, possibly this month, depicting Radio Galaxy 3C405, otherwise known as Cygnus A. And there's about what the shirt will look like. It'll be a black shirt, and that will be the image. And let's talk about the Hubble constant. Well, it's not agreed upon what the Hubble constant is, and what the Hubble constant is the idea that the entire universe is expanding, and at an accelerating rate. The farther you get away from our own galaxy, the faster other galaxies appear to be receding. So in other words, a galaxy a billion light years away will be receding more quickly than a galaxy a million light years away, if that makes sense. And this is an ongoing issue in astrophysics. And let's just say it's a dilemma facing cosmology. It's not agreed upon at all what the Hubble constant is, or if it's even relevant, as some people call into question using redshift, which is the Doppler effect of light, in that an object that is moving towards you at a very high rate of speed will be shifted toward the blue spectrum because of the Doppler effect on light, and if it's moving away from you, its light should be redshifted, again because of the Doppler effect. The problem is that we see very inconsistent data, and the idea of the cosmic microwave background is completely absurd, and it's about to be debunked, we hope, by the Haruni antenna. Let's see if we can get that back online. And anyway, this article about the universe's expansion, a crisis in astrophysics, as the Hubble constant is kind of important to the concordance model regarding things like the Big Bang. And links below the video to this article if you want to have a read. And part of the way that we measure that is through measuring the redshift of type 1a supernovae, such as this one here depicted. It's a supernova 1994D, located just outside the galaxy of NGC 4526. And so here's an article from Universe Today, and this one is about the dark energy problem, as it's becoming more and more evident that the missing mass in the universe is just made up of regular baryonic matter, things like molecules and atoms. as opposed to some mysterious fictional creation of gravitational astrophysics known as dark matter and dark energy. One of the ways we're able to see this is by looking at emission and absorption spectra to determine what the chemical components are of objects like galaxies and stars and, quote, protoplanetary disks, end quote, etc. And some additional cosmic tools have been added to the box in the past year. An indication that we've seen polarization causing things to clump together, such as glass beads in microgravity experiments. So it's becoming more and more likely that there's some other explanation for the, quote, missing mass, end quote, than dark matter and dark energy. And so this is super interesting. And for instance, the silicon spectra that are produced when white dwarfs explode, cosmic manganese produced in both types of supernova, as well as iron. And so looking at all of these chemical structures gives us some insight into what could be going on. So another interesting article here, this one from Universe Today. This is from like 2 days ago. So we're looking to do a special here with Eugene Bagashov about the importance of emission and absorption spectra in cosmology. So I haven't gotten an answer from Eugene if he wants to do that or not, but look for the possibility of that coming soon. Again, links to this article from Universe Today. Next, let's talk about HT 74423. It's a weird star, which is only pulsating on the one side where it has a red dwarf orbiting it. And I don't see why that's such a mystery, but this particular star, located about 1,500 light years away, pulses on only one side, the side on which the red dwarf is located. And one of the oddities about this one is that it's got an orbital period of, I believe, 1.6 days. That's Earth days. In other words, it only takes 1.6 days for this red dwarf to orbit the larger companion star. And also the red dwarf is being distorted. No real surprise there. And there should be some interesting tidal effects. And it is a chemically strange star known as a Lambda Boötis star with very low metallicity. Keep in mind, in cosmology, metallicity is referring to everything more massive than helium on the periodic table. So everything from lithium on up the periodic table are considered metals in astronomy and cosmology. So some more interesting information coming out about stars that is not predicted by the standard models. Please leave a comment if you're surprised. Anyway, we'll link to this article as well below the video. Now, I'm a firm believer in the fact that blazars are one of the most important phenomena in space, and that has to do with astrophysical jets. What is a blazar? Well, a blazar is an active galaxy which is viewed from the Earth face on, where we're viewing it from inside of this jet. Now, that is a cosmic ray source, as things like stars and galaxies have these poloidal fields which blast out a constant high-speed stream of protons. And undoubtedly there are other particles in there, such as electrons, and we won't get into the electrical nature of the jets, but there are some electrical properties there. And again, that does not mean that the galaxy is fundamentally electric, hence the use of the term electric. But this article is just an article from 2009 about blazars, if you want to read about them. It just basically depends on perspective, folks. If you're viewing this from the perspective of this artist's rendition, this wouldn't be a blazar. But if you're viewing it from up here within the jet, it would be a blazar. And at first, when these were first noticed, astronomers thought they were just bright stars, but they turn out to be very, very distant objects. And here's an article about one. The most distant blazar ever observed recently hit the news here, just on the 9th, so 2 days ago. The most distant blazar ever imaged, PSOJ030947.49 plus 271757.31. A really catchy name. Discovered by Silvia Bellatita, a PhD student at University of Insubria, working for the Italian National Institute for Astrophysics. Now, blazars have a massive radio source at the core of their galaxies, and they're sending off relativistic jets, again, in a line of sight that is connecting the galactic core with the observer here on Earth. And this has a record value redshift of 6.1. So I believe that's the highest redshift ever measured also. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section. And this object, PSOJ0309 plus 27, is believed to be about 12 billion light years away. And I guess it's creating holes in the standard cosmological theory of the Big Bang, in that an object that's this organized probably shouldn't have existed in the universe 12 billion years ago. The Big Bang is believed to have happened 13 billion years ago by mainstream astronomy. Links to this phys.org article also below the video. Let's talk about Marklund Convection real quick. Marklund Convection is behavior of plasma in an electric field to act like a centrifuge in reverse. So on Earth, when you create a centrifuge, doing things like separating blood from plasma, blood plasma, you get the heavy elements will end up on the outside of a spinning area. With Marklund convection, the heavy elements end up in the central axis of the twisting filamentary core created by Birkeland currents with plasma. And one of the issues with Marklund convection is that we don't see it in space. Let's talk about it. So here's an article about Lyman-Alpha blobs. And you see all that green there? That's a bunch of hydrogen. If there were Marklund convection going on, wouldn't that be all separated into filamentary strings? See, here's the problem. One of the many, many, many problems in the electric universe quote theory, end quote. And I say quote because it's not even valid enough to be considered a theory. And here we see gigantic clouds of hydrogen, more to debunk electric universe nonsense, because the universe is not fundamentally electric and neither are stars. How do I know? Well, because I'd be dead, because stars would be way too unstable for your existence. So we're not exactly sure how this Lyman-Alpha blob even exists in the state that it's in. It doesn't really help to advance standard cosmology nor electric universe. And by looking at the Lyman-Alpha photons, it's possible to determine whether or not the gas is outflowing or inflowing based on its blue or red shift. And here's a quote. Infalling gas can originate several ways. It could be the second stage of a galactic fountain. If massive stars die, they explode and push gas outward. By the way, there's no evidence that stars die, which later falls inwards. Another option is a cold stream. There are filaments of hydrogen floating between celestial objects that can be pulled into the center of potential, well, creating the infalling gas feature. In any case, things like active galactic nuclei seem to behave like fountains, and there's no indication that they behave like vacuums, except the fact that the rest of the galaxy is orbiting their central active radio core, the massive radio source at the center of most galaxies. It's also very interesting that the gas from the galaxy does not have very much metal, so that is also in conflict with the standard cosmic model of gravitational accretion. So look for more stories coming out soon about Lyman-Alpha blobs. Links to this article as well. And I would note one more thing. Notice the way that looks like it's coming out of a jet, as if it's being ejected from the jet of a massive galaxy. And notice the way it is not organizing itself into specific chemicals. Talk about Radio Galaxy 3894, which is in the news today as Fermi has done some radio investigations of it. It's another massive radio source, and it's emitting some serious high-power photons in between the 100 mega electron volt and 300 giga electron volt levels. You won't find much on the internet about NGC 3894. I did find an article that's not even in English on Wikipedia, so perhaps have a read about that. This one is located as if it's spilling out of the Big Dipper. So there's a location of that. Okay. There's a location of that. It's kind of right in the middle of the top of the Big Dipper, right where things would be spilling out. Perhaps just a coincidence. There's an image of it, and it's a small, fairly close galaxy, but an interesting one nonetheless as radio astronomy becomes more and more so. So links to those articles as well. Have yourself a read if you like. Let's briefly touch on the smashomash.com/forum. It's smashomash.com/forum. There's a whole cosmology thread there, a whole forum about cosmology, including subjects like the MOST and Cygnus X3 massive X-ray binary celestial pole star Deneb, and dark matter and dark energy, and Big Bang busted again, and neutrinos and Birkeland currents, and the implausibility of pulsars and gamma ray bursts. So perhaps have a read over there, and maybe put up a post yourself if there's a cosmology subject you'd like to talk about. And thanks to all of our new forum members. It's been a wild success. By the way, we're also on Facebook. We don't use it too much. And let's talk about See the Pattern. Now, See the Pattern is an Electric Universe channel where Gareth searches the skies for things that affirm his theories, because I believe he believes that the universe is fundamentally electric. I got involved in a chat thread conversation yesterday with some of his viewers, and let's make my point here on my cosmology section. Gareth believes the sun and the earth have iron cores because of the silly idea that Marklund Convection forms stars. We don't see any evidence of large-scale Marklund Convection in cosmology. Condensed matter, like stars, don't do convection. Convection is a gaseous plasma happening on the surface of stars, not in their interiors. If it were happening in the core of the sun, you'd be dead. It would be too unstable to exist in terms of the Earth and the solar system. So there's those facts, which, among others, utterly debunk the electric universe. Enjoy your day and take the electric universe nonsense with a truckload of salt, because it's BS. So check us out on Instagram, as if you don't follow us on Instagram, you may not see crucial videos like this one, where I inform our viewers what I do sometimes when doing my applied science job driving on highways.
Yeah, yo, so I was just rolling down the street thinking about how much I got and how much other people want, because I be ballin', ballin', ballin'. Got the pure L, ballin', ballin', ballin'. How your hands smell?
How your hands smell? I got the pure L. You can gladly buy a bottle from me for $80 for 9 ounces. Are you a pearl-clutching pussy? Do you not want to talk to me anymore because you can't explain your own bullshit? Well, guess what? I don't care. Here's another article, which is a bunch of nonsense propped up by a bunch of other nonsense. Turbulent convection at the heart of stellar activity. More ideas about stars being made of gaseous plasmas, which they clearly aren't, because they wouldn't behave in any way the way that we see them behaving. Here's the way science works, folks. In science, we look at nature, and then we come up with a possible explanation of how that's happening. Then we test that theory, and through testing and further observation, the hypothesis turns into a real theory. And then, once it's a real theory, we try to debunk it to the best of our ability. Here's how science doesn't work. Come up with an outlandish and extraordinarily difficult to prove theory, and then go searching through space for evidence of it. That's not science. That's the way standard cosmology does science, searching for black holes and neutron stars and other things that are just theoretical cartoons. And the electric universe does the same thing. Because stars are not made out of plasma, they have plasma on their surfaces, and their interiors are made of condensed matter. There's lots of observational evidence for that, and about zero observational evidence that, quote, 99.9% of the universe is made of plasma. It's nonsense. Don't believe it. And thanks for watching the video. Stars are fundamentally electric. Survey said... When we look at chemical makeup of structures in the universe, we see evidence of Marklund convection, indicating that everything's electric. Survey said? Nobody believes lies on the internet. Survey said? It's been a rough day. And thanks smAsho team for tuning in. Let's stay tuned for one bonus feature. But first, let me remind you to press like and subscribe on YouTube. Check out our older videos, as they're not all so time sensitive like our space weather videos. Check us out on BitChute, where we're seeing extreme success and getting many times as many views as we see on YouTube. And let's talk about the local yellow dwarf. Since the sun is the Rosetta Stone of cosmology, and all cosmic mass estimations and everything else in astronomy are based on understanding how this object works, which is pretty much not the case, as people ignore the observational evidence if it doesn't back up their bullshit theories. So thanks for tuning in, folks. Remember, stare at the sun, don't believe the lies, see the pattern of nonsense, and please stay tuned for real science as we debunk the BS. And look for more content coming soon, including our daily space weather video.